really, when you look about social awareness, the big thing with that is I look at it as that's just your ability to read the room.
Mm-hmm.
That's your ability to kind of take, for lack of a better term, a room temperature, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's one person, you and them, or it's a whole crowded room full of people at a networking event or at a
That's right.
conference or at a at a manager's meeting.
That's right, Dave. That could take a lot of different forms. But for instance, if you're in a manager's meeting and you got your team in there, and you start the meeting, you look around, you can see people's faces, you can read their body language. But I always like to suggest to my clients is when you start a meeting, start out with some questions, find out where people are at. This is going to give you some time to just see and feel where people are, and at the same time helps them to feel like they're more in the meeting because they may be carrying with them whatever crisis they were trying to deal with before they stepped into that meeting or on that Zoom call with you. So this gives you some time to read where they're at, and at the same time helps them to get into the present moment with you. But that's a good way of just being more aware of what's going on in that room at the time.
Yeah, because I mean, when you get a feel for what's going on in the room, you take kind of that room temperature. I mean, that feeling is going to have a big effect on the productivity of the people in the room because
Sure.
it how you read that depends on how you're going to act or react.
Mm-hmm.
And matter of fact, before we even started the recording, you were talking about an example of a manager that was coming in late. And that I thought was really helpful. So give the listeners that, tell me about that example again. That was
Sure.
really good.
So there was a company I was doing some work with. And the business owner, he was, you might say, a high D, and he did not tolerate people coming late to any meetings. Well, he had one of his managers who had been late once or twice before. They were waiting for him. Now the meeting was being delayed, so he just went ahead and started the meeting, and we knew that the owner was upset and this was bothering him. Well, sure enough, the manager shows up, comes in the room, and he just let him have it. Now, did that have a powerful boosting effect for the rest of the team? No. Everybody sat there frozen, very tense. And what may have been a better approach at that time for that decision maker is to say, listen, I'm a little concerned about someone being late here. Let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come back and we'll start this meeting again. That might have been the best way to handle it because frankly, at that point, it wasn't going to be a real productive meeting.
No. Well, if everybody's sitting there waiting, like, Joe's not here. Hey, the boss is ticked. Hey, the boss is going to drop the hammer on him when he comes in. I mean, one, it turns into almost like a WWE wrestling match. I mean, at some point, you're like, man, I can't wait for the show, right? As soon
Right.
as Joe comes in, he's going to drop the hammer on him and it's going to be ugly. So they're getting out the proverbial
Well,
popcorn and then juju beans, and they're waiting for
yeah,
the show.
it just wasn't a good situation. And of course, at that point, we knew the owner was upset, and if anyone wanted to ask a question or bring something up, they knew it was going to be something that would be very tenacious because the response from the owner at that point could be still affected by his outburst a few minutes earlier. So I think it's a matter of having some emotional awareness in the sense that you're going to really be able to guide your own feelings, but now that is going to be torn towards your group, which we're talking about here, social awareness.
Yeah.
So that's important that we regulate first, but then when we come to that social awareness part, we do what's necessary to make it an effective interaction between your team in this case.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's all about making good decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to end up like you said. If it's something important, like I've got to bring this up in this meeting, well, you maybe this just isn't a good time. Maybe your
Mm-hmm.
own emotional intelligence is one of the managers are like the boss is ticked, and this is not the time to bring this up because I
Yes.
know I'm going to get it shot down. So
Mm-hmm.
nobody's able to make a really good decision because of his emotions. And so good on the managers being able to read that, like, all right, let me just sit here and be cool because this is not the time to bring up anything. But it doesn't help the company. It doesn't lead to the collaboration and the productivity that we were talking about before.
Yeah, or nor the trust building. Hard to build trust. You're not sure how the person's going to react when you say something to them.